Hello ladies and gentlemen, ChessRabbitt here with another installment of the Killer Dragon series starring Anatoly Karpov. Today we're going to be looking at the game Karpov versus Andrew Whiteley in 1973. This game was played in Bath. And Anatoly Karpov at that time used to always play the move e4. Then somewhere between the Kasparov-Karpov match and the second World Championship match 85, that's when they switched off a little bit in the second match. But up until then, at that point, he played almost exclusively e4. And one of the most popular defenses at that time is the Sicilian, which against grandmasters pretty much still is the Sicilian. But the variation, the dragon, is what we will be looking at today, because it's the dragon killing series. Anatoly Karpov. So we have knight takes d4, knight f6, bishop e3. We've seen this move before from Karpov. Bishop g7. We've seen this move before from his opponents, which is all standard theory. Bishop c4, knight c6, f3, keeping an eye on the g4 square. We have castle, queen d2, Karpov, and looking forward to exchanging this. This move, of course, is to watch out for this move. Here we go. The reason why you play queen d2 is so that the queen can back up the bishop and trade off the two dark squared bishops, which is why you play that move. And that's why it's been played. Bishop d7, completing development, alongside castles. Now here we have a opposite side castling, and in a lot of these, and actually in most of these games, we're going to see the opposite side castle. We're going to be seeing moves. We're going to be seeing Karpov storming these pawns up the board, because this is how you play against the dragon. And your opposite side castle, you storm the H and G pawns up the board, and you trade off this dark squared bishop, and you have a pretty good attack. If you can do this faster than black can attack on the queen side, then you have a good game. Queen a5, attacking this pawn, of course. Bishop d3, b3, excuse me. Protecting the bishop just in case some shenanigans happen along this file, and also to prevent the rook sacrifice on c3, which I don't think you can prevent that. I mean, that's pretty much a standard move, also the rook sacrifice, so that happens quite a lot. Rook fc8, controlling the open c file, or the half open c file from black's point of view. h4, and here we go. That's the attack. It all starts there. Knight e5. And Karpov plays the move king b1, getting his king off the c file because the rook is there. That's one. Two, he's protecting the a2 pawn with the king, so this bishop can do other and participate in the attack because of the weak f7 square here. And it is just pretty much doing what it can do right now. Other moves have been tried in this position. Instead of king b1, have been h5, moving the h pawn up the board. We showed this game before, Bronstein, Pama, in Moscow 1971, and it was a win by David Bronstein. So that's when he played h5, continuing the attack and keeping up the pressure. Karpov in this game decides not to continue the attack with h5, keep up the pressure, but put the king on b1. His opponent, Andrew Whiteley, plays knight c4, intruding on his knight c4 square. Karpov decides to trade off a bishop, so he no longer has the bishop pair. Rook c4, knight b3, attacking the queen. And Whiteley plays queen back to d8. Other tries in this position, instead of queen back to c8, is queen c7. This was tried by Geller which is one of Karpov's seconds in Moscow in 1967, and that game went on to be a loss. Other tries in this position, of course, has been Queen C7, Geller, King F8 to move the king to this square, Knight H5 to put the knight in this square, and also A6, preparing to move A6 before. All of those have been tried before, some not so good. So anyway, the Andrew Whiteley decides to play a novelty at the time. Queen back to B8. Karpov, of course, does with the standard, going to trade off this dark squared bishop. Whiteley plays his queen to F8, and the bishops are off the board. And now this queen is on this nice diagonal. I don't know if it's going to stay there or not, but the queen is on a nice diagonal now. G4, Karpov is going with the king side pawn storm, which is standard stuff for the Sicilian dragon variation. Bishop E6, probably looking for a discovered attack along this file to expose the knight. I don't know why these moves are played. I'm not a grandmaster. I am just letting you know what the computer tells me. Knight D4, Knight D7. Also could have been played here is Rook A C8, doubling the rooks on the half-open C file, and Queen E3, getting his queen into green pastures, and also moving his queen away from the D file so his rooks can penetrate on the half-open D file. Knight D7, H5. Karpov is still going for the king side attack. Whiteley now decides to double his rooks on the C file. H takes G6, H takes G6. Now the H file is completely open for White, but White can't utilize the file as of yet. He has to maneuver his pieces over and continue the attack to utilize this open H file. But he has control of the H file because this rook here has awesome scope along this H file. Knight C E2. Here could have been played Rook H3, preparing to double the rooks and bring the other rook, the Rook D, to H1 to double the rooks and prepare to go hog wild on the king side, on the H file. And of course, Knight F8 to protect this valuable H7 square. So Knight EC2, Rook 4 C5, bringing the rook back. Probably planning on when Karpov goes, if Karpov ever decides to step up to G4, he can come over with his rook to H5. Maybe that's what he's thinking about playing, or just stepping the rook over to the G4 to the G5 square there. C3, protecting the C square. Now this half open C file really can't be utilized by Black as of this moment. Knight F8, going back to protect the H7 square, while the queen protects the H8 square. Rook D G1, Queen E5, getting his queen out of the way, putting his queen in a more centralized position, taking over the 5th rank, putting his queen in a more centralized position, and his queen has greater scope on the E5 square. Knight G3, Karpov is putting all of his pieces on the king side of the board to wreak havoc. G5, stopping the advanced G5 by White, of course. Here, another move could have been played as Queen F6. That gives a slight advantage to White, since you just moved the queen to E5 to begin with just a couple of moves ago. But you could possibly do that. G5. Karpov plays Knight G F5. Now his knights are connected. They're looking out for each other. So if there's a trade here, or there's a trade on the D square or the F square, the other knight can fulfill the the row. And now we also have a mate threat because the queen could come here and take g5, and white gets a decisive attack. Also, what could have been played here, which is a quite dubious move, is knight takes e6, f takes e6, rook h5, attacking the pawn, queen f4, protecting the pawn, and looking for a trade of bishops here. I mean, a trade of queens here to go into the end game. So, knight takes e6 could have been played. Knight g f5. Whiteley plays bishop takes f5, and here g takes f5, keeping his knight on this square. Now the knight can jump into e6 if need be, or the knight can stay over here and protect the king on the queen side. If we could have played knight takes f5, of course, and black would just close up the position with knight with f6, but then the knight can come back to the d4 square and then try to jump in the nice square of e6 after some preparation, of course. If not that, then the knight could move down here to e3 and have this lovely outpost of d5. So this knight has a lot of options as of now. The e6 square, of course, will have to be prepared, because if you put it there, it would be hanging. So g takes f5, f6, locking up position, and now this square here, the e6 square, is weak. f4. This is a very, very strong move. This move is attacking the queen, opening lines to black's king, because if the queen takes, then if queen takes here, then this pawn would take. You would take back, and you can take with the rook with the decisive attack on the king side. Queen takes e4. Check. Karpov moves his king to the a1 square, and Whiteley moves his king out of the way. If he had to play e5 here, the computer gives f takes g5, e takes d4, g takes f6 check, king f7, rook g7 check, king e8, rook e1, pinning the queen to the king and winning the queen takes e1, queen takes e1 check, rook e5, rook e7 check, king d8, queen g3, rook takes e7, f takes e7 check, king takes e7, queen g7 check, king d8, queen takes f8 check, king d7, queen to f7 check, king c6, followed by c takes d4. And this is a decisive advantage for white. Well, that's a pretty long analysis, but that's just what Fritz actually came up with that long bit of analysis. So that was pretty good. So we go with king f7, f takes g5, f takes g5. Also, if you could have played rook takes f5, praying for a miracle, then we have knight takes f5, queen takes f5, g takes f6, e takes f6, and this is an advantage for white because he is the exchange up. So f takes e5, queen takes g5, rook e5. Here, if Whiteley had played king e8, this was a last effort to resistance. Then we have rook to e1, queen e5, and of course Karpov would win the queen. So rook e5 was played, and the decisive blow which Karpov found, Queen H5 check. Here, the game would have ended quite simply. Here, Andrew Whiteley resigned because he saw the moves King F6, Rook G6 check, King F7, Rook takes D6 check, discovered a check on the king from the queen, King G8, Rook G1 check, Queen G2, Rook takes G2 check, Knight G6, Queen takes G6 check, Rook King F8, and of course Queen G8 checkmate. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, another killer attack from Anatoly Karpov, the Dragon Killer series, excuse me. And I hope to see you guys again in another exciting The Dragon Killer series starring Anatoly Karpov. Leave any questions or comments down in the comment section. Let me know how you like the series and what other games you would like for me to look at. And let me know how you like this series. So that's Anatoly Karpov versus Andrew Whiteley, 1973. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, so long and goodbye.